Hello, this is Rob, and we want to talk today about the 7 considerations that a big and tall person should have when purchasing an e-bike. Consideration number 1, what's your height and weight? Those are going to dictate the pool of bikes that'll be available to meet your need. Most bikes have stated maximums, 250, 275, and that includes the passenger plus whatever cargo that the passenger is going to have. So for me, I'm 300. So if I was going to carry a backpack with a charger, some water, and some other things in the backpack or in a crate on the bike, then the bike needs to be to support my weight, 300, plus the cargo, so 10 to 15 pounds. So I would be looking for a bike in the maximum range of 330 or so. So, if you're 280 and you're going to carry a backpack and some other things on the bike, then you should be looking for a bike with a maximum weight of 300. And if you are, 350, then you should be looking for a bike that can accommodate, 375, 400. So again, that will dictate the pool of bikes that will be available for you. And if you happen to be a tall person, but you're not really heavy, you're just tall and lean, then there are bikes that are going to be bigger frame that can accommodate your height, and you may be able to get away with adding a longer seat pole, as well as extension on the handlebars, so you can use a different bike that doesn't necessarily need the super weight capacity, but can accommodate your length. So those are just some basic considerations for you as you think about your height and weight and what that means for you in a bicycle. The second consideration before buying an e-bike, how much are you willing to spend? E-bikes range from 700 that I've seen on the lower end up to 7,500, $8,000. So that's a huge range. And so the more you're willing to spend, the more features you're going to get, the higher the individual components. Everything's tiered. So, a basic bike at the bottom of the scale is going to have good components, but a $8,000 bike is going to have should have fantastic components. So if you have $8,000 to spend on a e-bike, I'm not a hater. So you just go do it, bro. If you got it like that. But for 8 grand, you could get a Fiat 500e or a Chevy Spark EV and have you an EV automobile for that kind of money, a used one, a 16 Spark. So, but if you want to spend that kind of money, then go for it. For me, my budget was or is $1,000. Right, so the best I can do in the area of COVID, because I'm trying to get out and get some exercise and have some transportation, kind of move me around the neighborhood. So I am going to do the best that I could do for around $1,000. So what's your budget? I mean, most e-bikes you're going to spend in the 15. You get a lot of great e-bikes between 15 and 2,000, and then get better components at the $2,500 range and up. Right. So it's all going to depend on how much you're willing to spend. The third consideration before buying an e-bike is what's your riding environment? Are you going to be riding heels, or is it going to be flat? Are you going to be using the bike for different purposes throughout the year? What are you going to do with the bike? For me, my consideration is heels. Vegas is basically, one big cereal bowl. So anything going towards the outer edges of town is going to require you to climb hills. So with my weight, I'm going to need a bike that has the capacity to move me up and down hills. We don't really get that much inclement weather, so I'm not necessarily worried about snow, but we have a lot of good trails and things to take advantage of here. If I go east with the bike, I have to have a consideration for snow. You may want to use your bike for hunting and different things. So what exactly are you going to be doing with the bike? That will help you determine what really leading us into the next one. What's the style of bike that you're going to use it for? The fourth consideration before buying an e-bike is what style of bike do you want? You've thought about your riding environment, and so you know kind of how you want to use the bike in general. So, what style of bike is going to get you to that place? There are just as many different styles of e-bike as there are regular bikes. There are cargo bikes, there are folding fat tire bikes, there are regular fat tire mountain bikes, there are urban cruiser bikes, there are road bikes, they're just beach cruiser bikes. So whatever it is, the style, however you're going to use it, given your ride environment, given if you're on the beach or in the mountains or in the woods, all those are going to dictate the bike that you're ultimately going to buy. Fifth consideration before buying an e-bike is how much power are you going to need to move you around. If you're in a hilly area or you're going to use it in off, terrain, rough terrain, trails, then you're going to need a stronger motor, especially if you're a bigger guy trying to, ride the bike up and down hills, up and around through the woods, and those kinds of things, or on the beach. You're going to need a stronger motor to move you around. If you're in a flat land, similar to the Midwest, you may be able to get away with not having, 350 watts at the bottom end. E-bike motors are similar to automobiles where you have, three cylinders down, which I guess would be 250 watts, and then you would have, V8s, 1,000 watts and up. So depending on what your needs are and what your budget is, so your boat definitely your motor will be dictated by your budget. So you want to make sure you have enough motor in your budget. And then there are three types of motors. There's mid drive, which is basically the motor is in the pedal area, in the sprocket where your pedal. It feels more natural to pedal the bike that way, and it just gives you, multiplies your power. Rear hub motor. The motor is in the back wheel, so it'll feel like rear wheel drive, where the bike is kind of pushing you along, especially if you have a throttle. There are front hub bikes. There are all-wheel drive where you have a hub motor in the front and the back wheel. And then there are conversion kits. And in the conversion kit, you decide how you want to convert your current bike. Let's say I'm going to convert my rock hopper into an e-bike. Then I would get a conversion kit. I could get a back wheel conversion kit. I get a front wheel conversion kit, or I can get a sprocket pedal conversion kit, the mid-drive kit. So again, your budget and your needs are going to dictate the style of motor that you should get. The sixth consideration you should have before buying an e-bike is, do you have any physical limitations? Do you have any bad knees, a bad back, bad hips, anything that you would need to take some consideration of getting on and off the bike? So they make step through bikes, which are easier to get on and off the bikes, especially if you're an older gentleman, with some hip and knee issues. As you know, it's a bicycle. Every now and then you're going to fall off. Every now and then you're going to have to jump off. And just for ease of use, can you mount and dismount the bike easily? If you got a high pole underneath your crotch and you're a shorter guy, but you're still kind of heavy set, you may want to consider a step through bike. If you have bad hips, bad knees, but you still want to ride a bike, you still want to make sure that you can get off the bike without putting too much pressure on yourself. So, what physical limitations do you have? Does that dictate the style of bike that you buy? The last consideration is, do you want local support or do you want to do it yourself? If you buy the bike at a local bike shop, they're going to help you with all the maintenance and if you have any issues with the bike. But if you buy the bike online, you may be responsible for taking care of. If you have any real electrical issues, you may have to find your own, support. Contact a local bike shop and see if they're willing to at least do the repairs on the bike, so you at least you have some backup. So thanks and happy riding. I hope you buy a bike. I'm planning on buying mine. You have an awesome week. Thanks.